Welcome, everyone. I'm Jermaine Jackson, producer here at Daybreak Radio, the only station indigizing the airwaves. And today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with an accomplished Indigenous artist. He's a cultural leader. He's a powerful voice in the music world, Curtis Clear Sky.
Yeah.
He's the lead vocalist and MC of Curtis Clear Sky and the Constellations. He's known for blending hip-hop, funk, soul, reggae, and more into a sound he calls Indigifunk. He has built a career rooted in truth, culture, and connection, and he's shared the stages with legendary artists. He's collaborated with award-winning musicians and was honored by the United Nations as a messenger of truth. Curtis, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Jermaine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Of
Thank
course.
you for having me.
Yeah, so first question, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and let them know which nations you're from?
Yes. Hey, what's up, everybody? Ukiitsanidapi. My name is Curtis Clear Sky. I'm from the Anishinaabe and Niitsitapi peoples, and I grew up on beautiful Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh territory in Vancouver, in what is so-called Canada. And yeah, I'm super thankful to be here today on beautiful Duwamish territory, Daybreak Star Radio Network. Thank you for having me. And just I want to say, Tanidapi to all of my Niitsitapi relatives out there. I know there's a lot of Blackfoot relatives out here in Seattle, and just want to say what's up, okay? As well as my Anishinaabe relatives, a lot of relatives out here as well. So, Anin, good to see everybody, good to hear everybody, good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, take us back to the beginning. What first inspired you to pursue music? And, when did you realize it was more than just a passion?
Well, like all of us, we're born in the womb. We all come from that heartbeat. We all know that connection. And, I think it really, truly for me has been a lifelong experience. Music has been a healing outlet. It's been an escape, or it's been a space of empowerment, or just a space of feeling good, having the experience of music, contemporary music, traditional music. And, growing up in my own life and just, hearing my parents' music, discovering my own music, growing up in, what some people recognize as like golden era of hip hop, 90s hip hop. And, for me, Wu-Tang Clan, Tupac, other West Coast artists, inspired me. And, a lot of the hip hop that we listened to in the 90s, a lot of it was sampled from music from going back into the 70s, 60s, and some 80s works too. But most of all, I went on my own exploration around looking at, some of the works that were originally sampled. And man, a lot of the works that were originally sampled, the original stuff is dope. In some cases, I think it's better than the samples in some cases. And, just recognizing a lot of the funk works, the soul works that come out of those times. And man, I love it. And I think for me, as forming and moving forward, is like real recognition into going into live music. So working with live musicians to, go that direction of finding our sound that's reflective of rhythm and funk, and recognizing the principles and values in and around the funk, playing on the one, and rhythm is like, my foundation when writing, recording, and making the music. My drummer and my bass player, that's where it all starts. And so I'm just thankful to work with my musicians that I work with, and everybody that I get to meet on the journey. And I'm just super thankful. Yeah.
So you mentioned some different genres, and your album Indigifunk, which came out in 2019, it blends hip hop, like Latin funk, soul, reggae, blues. How did you develop that sound, and what does Indigifunk mean to you?
Taking it back. Going through live music and, bringing it back to that funk. I think, big inspiration for me has been George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. Just that dirty funk, that feeling, just, you throw it on, picks you up. It's like, I'm cooking my food, I'm doing my work, I'm just living life, I'm vibing, feeling it. It's a space and a time, feels good. and I, go to shows, and I, listen to the music, whenever I go see a live band, whoever it might be, anyone that moves me, I always appreciate, having that experience of being on stage with someone or, being on stage with somebody, but also being in the audience and, having someone present and give their works to you and you feel it feels good. For me, it's like, that's what I want to be able to provide as well. It's my audience when I connect. It's like, make sure that everyone can vibe, feel good, dance to it, have a message, and have like top class musicianship in presenting the works we do.
Yeah. Your music is very, it's like it has a classic feel and I love the production. It's like almost timeless. But in 2006, actually, you were recognized as a messenger of truth through the United Nations. So what responsibility comes with that recognition and how has it influenced your work as an artist and community leader?
Yeah, I was younger when that was, presented to me. And I was working in Vancouver with a knowledgeable Aboriginal Youth Association. And we were doing a lot of advocacy work for Indigenous youth in the city, taking on the Vancouver Police Department and addressing racial profiling, addressing some of the underfunded areas that were not being supportive to our Indigenous young people. And a lot of times we're about raising the voice of Indigenous people. And hip hop, of course, was a big part of that. So we'd, throw on shows, we'd organize events, we'd organize opportunities for young people to record and just develop and explore that space for their voice. And and within that, two of the bros, Stan Williams and Kelly LaRondale, had gone to Kenya to the United Nations Habitat Department. And at the time, they were recognizing hip hop as a tool for empowerment for urban people all over the world. And they created this program called The Messengers of Truth. And they acknowledged different people in and around the world, different pockets that were doing work in hip hop in addressing and elevating their communities and elevating youth voice. And the bros that went, they said, we got to recognize somebody in Turtle Island as an Indigenous person. They had nobody on there. So they advocated, we need a Native person, to also represent. And they said, our colleague, our bro, Curtis, me, needs to be recognized. And so I just appreciate the bros for doing that. And then they came back and they had the World Urban Forum in Vancouver that year in 2006. And and that's where they inducted that. And, for me, being young is like, okay, given this title on that kind of a level, and I've always appreciated it. And at the same time, it's just the affirmation of, coming forward and presenting the truth. And it's a platform to empower our voice as Indigenous people. And, it's opened up opportunities and doors, and I've had the blessing and opportunity to also launch the Indigenous Music Office of Canada more recently in 2023. And that's also about elevating our people beyond in music for Indigenous people collectively, in Canada, but also Turtle Island wide. So, stateside too. It's all about raising our voices as Indigenous people, which is the slogan here at Daybreak Star, indigenize the airwaves.
That's what we do. But that title, Messenger of Truth, is pretty dope. So congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you already talked about activism a little bit, but let's talk about your song, Turtle Island, which features a Juno-winning artist. And what inspired that collaboration and what message were you hoping listeners would take away from that song?
Well, 2008, I went down to Aotearoa, New Zealand, where I met my wife. We have 3 kids. And when I went down there, 2008, I went down for music and I collaborated with some artists down there, Horomona Horo, as well as Miss Bethany. And we created a track and recorded it, and it was put on a compilation. And on that compilation, it's called Solid Territories. And on that compilation, it consisted of Australian Aboriginal Indigenous artists, Aotearoa, Maori artists, And I was the only voice from Turtle Island that was on that compilation. And there were some really dope artists on there. And one of the artists came from Australia, and their name is Nadina Dixon. And they got a song called Always Was, Always Will Be Aboriginal Land. And, that's the chorus. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, damn, that is dope. It's like, and I think it's like, for me, it's like an anthem, and I think it has become an anthem for our Indigenous Aboriginal relatives in Australia. So, that's an affirmation, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And I was like, that inspired me. And I was like, we go to events, and the anthems, these national anthems take place. And, it's always a funny feeling because, sometimes, it's conflicting, obviously. So for me, as an Indigenous person, I'm like, well, in my Anishinaabe culture, we have Turtle Island story. And, I'm thinking, man, I want to create something that is in reflection of, our relative who also put out the works in that sort of anthem focus. So for me, that's, and for anyone, that's, Turtle Island is affirmation. So, and I was blessed to work with Big Voice, Murray Porter from the Haudenosaunee peoples, Mohawk brother, uncle. And he's a Juno award-winning artist and blues player. He's played with some legendary blues artists, and man, super thankful because he's got that big voice and he brings in Turtle Island, and and it's got to represent, so I got to bring that big voice into the realm, and he did a great job, and that's what it is, Turtle Island. So yeah,
great song, and we also like to highlight Aboriginal music at Daybreak Radio, because not we don't just highlight Native American music, we highlight Indigenous artists from around the whole world, even in Africa as well. Yeah. So that's pretty dope. My mom has visited New Zealand and Australia, and I gotta go one of these days. Gotta make it over there.
Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Oh man. Yeah, Daybreak Star, and your own journey as well. Man, the connections are there. Are the realms that we live in, but we're all reflective of each other. So
definitely. So one of your career highlights was opening for the Wailers in 2022. What was that like, and what did that moment mean to you?
Exhilarating. To be able to share the stage with the relatives. We had family man, Barrett. He was there, the original bassist, and a lot of the legacy artists that are also now taking on the roles within the Wailers. But original band member, family man Barrett was there. And, that was just exhilarating experience. That day we had our biggest probably piece band. We had 11 people on stage with us. Everybody came out. We had 2 guitar players. Everybody, of course, wanted to be there, and we did. And we came through. And for me, always a highlight to recognize, to be inspired by Bob Marley and the Wailers, and then to share the stage, or at least open up for them, was a blessing. And I always remain thankful to Victoria Ska Reggae Festival for that opportunity.
So we talked about, doing live music, off camera, but how is it being up there on the stage, and what goes through your mind, like right before you start playing, and, how does it make you feel when you're on stage?
Well, I'm always, thinking don't mess up, first of all, but part of not messing up is being prepared and always rehearsing and, being in the zone. But, and that's it. It's always like being at that place, of enjoying it and being in a space where, when I'm in the vibe, like I want to experience, when I'm playing with my musicians and I got, a horn player doing a solo, I'm in the moment, like I'm witnessing my horn player, whoever I get to play with, my guitar player, rip it up, our drummer holding the space, our bass player, hold down the rhythm, our vocalist killing it, me doing my part, it's about maintaining and being in that space of just being in the energy, being in that it's a ceremony. So, entering the ceremony, with my heart and having that space to create the messages. And the messages are about empowering. The messages are about that mantra, whatever our lyrics may be, in around, soul powered soul people from the land. We celebrate in unity. We raise our hands, or whatever that might be. Plant your dreams, or we belong. These are messages of that empowerment, and again, a lot of it is inspired, from writings in from around Bob Marley and the Wailers. When you look at how he writes his music, it's that message of affirmation.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, from an Indigenous perspective, I'm writing my lyrics from affirmation. So when we're sharing it with the community, from the children to the elders and everybody in between, it's about us empowering our voices and creating space that we're, we belong, and, celebrating life at the same time.
Yeah. Celebrating life. Yeah. That's inspirational. And let's talk about the different cultures around the world. Like we were talking about New Zealand. We got the Maori over there, the Aboriginal in Australia. What similarities have you found between Indigenous communities across the world?
Yeah, when we're looking at Indigenous people, we all have different tikanga or different customs, different protocols, and how we do our ceremonial work, or how we engage with our territories and our lands, our ancestors. How we do it sometimes is different and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's very similar. But one of the things that is absolutely similar is our principles and values. Our principles and values in and around respecting our ancestors, respecting the land, respecting the water, respecting the animals, giving gratitude, recognizing higher powers, recognizing, those that come before us, recognizing teachings. We all come from depth of ancient knowledge, and, the colonial agenda has always been about trying to wipe that knowledge out, and we have deep knowledge that goes beyond colonialism. And, so we are, we come from ancient peoples, and that ancient peoples, we're living. We're not ancient. We're living.
Yeah, we're here.
Beings.
Yeah.
But we go deep. Yeah. We're deep peoples around the world.
It's interesting because I had an interview with another athlete last year, and she was telling a story where she was in Europe, like on a plane, speaking her native language, and the other white lady, I don't think she was trying to be, disrespectful, but she asked her what language was she speaking, and she told her Native American language, and then the lady was like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys were still alive." Yeah, so it's interesting, but there are a lot of similarities, and you pretty much cover a lot of them. Maybe I would add, we all, respect our elders is very important. You said the land as well, and then for us up in Alaska, food also connects us. So especially
all about the food.
Yeah. So
that's true. Every Native community, we all love food.
Love food. Yeah. So you've had opportunities to learn from people connected to legends like Marvin Gaye and the iconic song, the Apache song. What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned from your mentors?
Actually, Robe Hardnett used to sing with Marvin Gaye, was one of the backup singers. He had shared some mentorship in and around developing, administrative work, which I always appreciate. So shout out to Robe Hardnett up in Vancouver. He used to be lived in Portland and Seattle, as Vancouver, but has that background in Motown. One of the things that he told me, he said, Indigenous people are about to have what Motown had back in the day when Motown broke through. He said, what he witnessed was Motown breaking through the race barrier, where that white supremacy was trying to hold back, the Black African community's voice. And Motown just broke it out and came through. And he said, that's about to happen for Indigenous people. And this was like 7 years ago. And absolutely that's happening. and, Daybreak Star, all the different radio stations across the country, all, the different works, XM radio, wherever it might be, the Indigenous music office work that I would participate in. It's happening. Our voices are important. And it's important that, we're the original people of this land, and, our stories are going to come through, and you can't stop that. It's a spirit.
Yeah.
And, so Robe Hardnet, I appreciate him acknowledging that. That's appreciated. I've had the opportunity to work with Cat Hendricks, who was the original drummer on Apache. And Apache was recorded in Vancouver. And Apache's a cover. But the version that they recorded with the incredible bongo band, there's a documentary called Sample This. It talks about it and all this, wild connections to a whole lot of stuff. But basically recorded in Vancouver, 1971. And then made its way, on print, made its way around the world, ended up in New York. At the time, a lot of the DJs, DJ Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, like the original foundational DJs and relatives, they all found it. And they all were taking break beats from all the songs, and they found the Apache beat. And the Apache beat became one of those foundational hip hop break beats. And Cat Hendricks recorded on it, the drums, and he also recorded on our album Indigifunk. So for me, it's like a full circle blessing for, to Vancouver to have that connection, make its way around the world. And then, many years later, 40 plus years later, to be able to record with the original drummer, is a blessing. So it's, a full circle moment.
Yeah. Dope. Yeah. So you've recently released new music, 3 new songs, 3 new singles. So everybody go and stream those singles on Spotify or Apple Music. But what can fans expect from this next chapter of music, and how has your sound evolved since Indigifunk?
You can expect authenticity, love, healing, empowerment, positive vibrations. You're going to hear some world-class, top tier musicianship. The quality in the music is outstanding. The quality in the production is the top. Working with Garth Richardson, who recorded Rage Against the Machine's first album, Red Hot Chili Peppers' Mother's Milk album, amongst many, many other works that he's been involved in. And he's elevated our sound to a level that just, I'm just thankful because we're in the stratosphere of sound. In addition, we also recorded it and mixed it in Dolby surround sound. So if you got the spatial headphones, you'll be able to listen to that on Apple Music and Amazon Music. And you get that immersive 360 sound that you can, turn your head and you feel like you're in the song. Yeah. So that, that in addition to just the stereo works is amazing, is incredible. And, so the musicianship is an opportunity, and I'm thankful because it's all kind of collided all together. It's an accumulation of my life experience and the writing and the lyrics. At the same time, the musicianship and the quality of the production, the artwork as well. Shout out to Dedos, Nomadic Alternatives. The artwork is beautiful that we got going on with it as well. And Ron Searles, who mastered the works as well out of Toronto. Man, I'm in gratitude, and I just give thanks to the ancestors, Creator, Mother Earth. Yeah, I'm just thankful.
Yeah, that's what stuck out when I was listening to those singles, was the quality of the sound. Yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier, sounded timeless, the music. But what advice would you give to young Native youth who maybe have some big dreams, maybe want to go into music, but may not yet believe those dreams are possible? Because, we all know, on the res, in the village, life can get to you, and, sometimes people don't really have much hope, or believe in themselves. Yeah. Yeah. So any advice you would give to those young Native youth?
Yeah. Our words are important. What we think, say, and do is what we think, say, and do. So it's important to recognize, what are we thinking? What are we saying? What are we doing? And sometimes it's a diet of it's beyond food. It's what are we listening to? What are we musically listening to? What is our engagement? What is that medium? Who are the people we're engaging with? What are the conversations that are happening? Who are we talking to? Who are we listening to? What are we listening to? Music, entertainment, reading. What is that? It's what we think, say, and do. So you want to have a healthy diet of what you're thinking, saying, and doing, because, that comes to reality. If we're thinking healthy, we're thinking about positivity, we're thinking about, achieving goals, you're going to think it, you're going to say it, you're going to do it. So it is about maintaining that recipe of moving that direction. Because we are, we're all human. I get caught up too. I get in the moments of the self-doubt, or my own stuff that happens and my reflection, and, we got to shake it off and get back, on track and the right path. And it's like, yeah, I got to ground myself, culture, our cultures, our medicines are all gifts that we have that help us be affirmed. Those are the healthy things, finding those healthy things in our lives. What is guiding us to think, say, and do the healthy things. So yeah, it's inner reflection.
Yeah, definitely. I think every day when you wake up, thinking is the most important thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, great advice.
Yeah.
So finally, if you can sit down with your younger self, young Curtis, just starting his journey, what would you tell him about the road ahead?
Oh, man, Curtis, I would tell you to just, chill, relax, don't worry, and don't worry about life so much, and because life is full of blessings and everything will work out. And, and that's true for all of us. We get caught up in stress. We think, again, myself, I used to, get stressed, and I still work on that. Again, pulling myself in the right direction to count my blessings and just recognize everything's going to work out, and know that we have ancestors are on our side.
Yeah.
We're blessed like that to, have guidance, and doors open up. People come across the path, opportunities come up, and then, nowadays we also have the internet. So, other things happen even more fast. But, the real world, the natural world also exists. And, and that's our ancestral way, and the airwaves, the wind, the sky, the water, the rain, the seasons.
Yeah.
It's us too. So,
yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, where can our listeners find you and find the music that you're doing and keep updated with you?
You can find us on our website, which is constellations.com, constellations with a Z, as well as you can find us on all social media, and our tag usually is CC_constellations with a Z. So, yeah.
Great. Well, Curtis, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you much success in all your future endeavors.
Miigwech, Haichko, Siam, Jermaine, I appreciate it today. Thank you. Daybreak Star, thank you. Love and gratitude.
Koyana.
Hey.